Tonight, firefighters battle to save Beauval as wildfire reaches the northern village. He and his wife are living in their SUV. Now this Regina man is calling for access to vacant social housing units. And going for a disc golf world record for a good cause.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, July 11th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. Wildfires on the prairies are now an immediate threat to numerous communities. Firefighters in the northern village of Beauval are trying to hold off a fast-moving fire, and other fires are spreading just as quickly through Manitoba. Alexander Silberman has our top story.
Watch the wind!
A wall of flames engulfing fire crews in northern Saskatchewan.
Ow!
Volunteers armed with sprinklers and hoses battling to save homes under fierce winds. The fast-moving fire now raging within the village of Beauval.
We haven't seen rain in days, and the fire is just all around us.
The mayor says firefighters, working with water bombers and helicopters, managed to hold back the flames overnight. Some structures on the outskirts had burned, but by the afternoon, homes were still safe.
We feel the people's emotions, the fear and the anxiety, the unknown.
Those fears also for pets, with many cats and dogs left behind amid the scramble to evacuate.
It was very emotional and scary.
These volunteers, braving poor visibility and unpredictable flames, returned, rescuing more than 36 animals so far.
Smoke was so thick they couldn't hardly breathe outside of their vehicles, and they tried to help as many animals as they could.
Evacuees are now in Saskatchewan, glad to be safe, but wondering what they'll return to, watching the flames from afar.
It just took everybody by surprise, I guess you could say, because it sounded like that fire came, rolled in really fast.
Across the border in Manitoba, the military is continuing to airlift residents from Garden Hill First Nation, the community threatened by 3 fires that have merged into one.
The fire is really close. It's just right at the edge of our community.
Thousands of evacuees are arriving to thick smoke blanketing much of the southern prairies as an unrelenting fire season shows no sign of slowing down. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina. An international court has ruled that countries must treat climate change as a human rights emergency, and that could have impacts on people affected by climate-related disasters in Saskatchewan. The ruling from the Inter-American Court of Human Rights says countries have legal obligations to protect people and future generations from the impacts of climate change. And it calls on nations to take action to cut down greenhouse gas emissions and guard against climate disinformation. One expert says people affected by wildfires could use this ruling as a tool to reinforce their human rights.
These fires are among the kinds of grave and unfortunately foreseeable impacts of climate change that states have a duty, as the Inter-American Court has said, to take all necessary measures to prevent and to support communities to respond to them and to remedy and repair the harm when it arises.
Reich says this ruling could also make Canada rethink the recently passed One Canadian Economy Act to expedite nation-building projects, but Canada has not ratified the American Convention on Human Rights, which established the court and does not necessarily have to follow its rulings. A woman from Standing Buffalo First Nation has ended her 22-day hunger strike in front of the Regina landfill. Michelle Bear had called for the landfill to be searched in an effort to find her daughter's remains. 23-year-old Rochelle Bear was murdered by Clayton Bo Eichler in 2013. Michelle was told her daughter's body likely ended up in a dumpster that was taken to the landfill. But Friday morning, Michelle told media gathered at Regina Police Headquarters that she would be dismantling her camp.
I have accomplished one of my main goals for camping out at the landfill for 22 days. I want to reestablish communication with the investigators and will continue communicating with them to bring Rochelle home. I would like to say thank you to all the people for their love and support over the past 4 weeks, and I hope no mother has to go through this ever again.
In a statement, Regina police say Bear has several ideas on how to move forward, and the force will do what it can to assist her. RPS did not say if searching the landfill would be part of that. Police have said they have no evidence that would confirm where Rochelle's remains are, but they will pursue any leads and encourage anyone with information to come forward. Family members have now identified the man who died at a construction site in Saskatoon. 38-year-old Carl Lamoureux was from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. He was working on a new apartment building in the city's Forest Grove neighborhood last weekend when the crane he was operating collapsed, seriously injuring him. Lamoureux later died in hospital. The province's Occupational Health and Safety branch is still investigating the accident, but a spokesperson says the results from its investigation will not automatically be made public. It only publishes findings from successful prosecutions. Well, after getting out of jail in January, a Regina man has been homeless and living out of his SUV. And he is just one of many voices calling for vacant social housing units to be open for those who need a roof over their head so they can better their lives. Laura Sharpaletti has that story.
For months now, Jason Hoffley and his wife have been living out of their Ford Expedition. The 41-year-old dealt drugs before serving 4 years in jail. Now, Hoffley says he's sober and attends church. But he's unable to get help finding housing for himself, his wife, and his 5 children.
I want my family back, I want to provide, and they're not letting me. Yeah. Like I had a shady, rough past, but yeah, I've overcome it, and I feel I'm doing better, but now I'm getting held back, and nobody's helping.
With Hoffley on income support and his wife on disability income, the pair together get just under $2,000 a month. Not having access to social housing made him, at times, consider dealing again.
It doesn't help when they have the rent is so high that we couldn't even afford it. We could afford rent, but we'd be starving. Couldn't pay the bills, so we have no power, no heat. How can they expect me to afford a 6-bedroom house on welfare or even child tax? It's impossible. They're unspokenly saying, go back to dealing drugs, and that's the only way you can afford it.
This week, the official opposition raised the issue that thousands of social housing units across the province are sitting vacant.
With harmful and thoughtless changes to critical income support programs and zero plan for housing. In fact, they aren't even using the public housing that they have available.
That doesn't surprise Hoffley. He says he hasn't been able to get on housing lists and believes homelessness will inevitably lead to more crime.
Crime is so high because they're not doing anything. They say they would, but they don't. If they'd open up housing, apartment complexes, something, then it wouldn't be so high.
But the province says it's making progress to ensure all residents have access to stable and affordable housing. And since 2021, it's seen a 30% decrease in the number of vacant units. In the meantime, Hoffley and his wife have been getting food and clothing through the Al Ritchie Community Association. About 1,500 people step through these doors each month looking for help. Laura Sharpaletti, CBC News, Regina.
The province is planning a hike to its minimum wage this fall. It will increase to $15.35 an hour come October 1st. Right now, it stands at an even $15 an hour. That is tied with Alberta for the lowest minimum wage in the country. The minimum wage went to $15 an hour last October. Alberta's rate has not changed since 2018. Donald Trump says he is going to impose a 35% tariffs on some goods imported from Canada starting August 1st. The threat was made in a letter on social media addressed to Prime Minister Mark Carney Thursday night. In response, Industry Minister Mélanie Joly says Canada needs to further strengthen trade relations with trusted partners.
We need to make sure that while the U.S. is closing its market and really taking its own path regarding protectionism, that we, as a stable and democratic country, continue to have open markets, including with the EU.
The hike is expected for goods already hit with a 25% import tax. According to the White House, free trade compliant goods would be exempt, and Canadian energy and potash stays at 10%. The original trade deal deadline of July 21st was agreed upon by both countries. The Prime Minister says he'll work toward an agreement by the revised August 1st deadline, and he's calling a cabinet meeting for Tuesday to focus on negotiations with the U.S. Carney says Ottawa will defend workers and businesses amid the latest threats. Well, get ready to reel them in. This is the province's free fishing weekend. You don't need a license to sport fish on any public lake, river, or any other body of water. Keep in mind, though, that this does not apply to national parks, and you still need a license to take fish out of the province. This is now the 36th annual free fishing weekend. Of course, the question now is, will the smoke and the skies clear for those fishers this weekend? Helena Mahalik has the details in the forecast after the break. The pledge by many Canadians to boycott U.S. goods and travel is still strong. It's been 5 months since Donald Trump started his trade war and threatened to annex Canada. Sophia Harris looks at the staying power of the Buy Canadian movement.
Here you go. It's shaping up to be a record sales year at this Ottawa gift shop, where almost every item is entirely made in Canada. Hot sellers include patriotic chocolate bars.
It's been really popular.
And this elbows up t-shirt.
It's really just a classic shirt you might want to wear out in a boot.
U.S. President Donald Trump began to anger Canadians back in February by launching a trade war and recommending Canada join the United States.
I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
That sparked a boycott of U.S. goods, so sales here soared and continue to do so, up 80% year over year.
It's like a big hug from your neighbors across the country saying, you know, we're in this together and we're going to protect our country.
Boycotts often wane over time, but the Buy Canadian movement remains strong.
It's something that has persisted. We've seen about 40% of small businesses say that they've seen increased sales in Canadian and locally made products.
For explicitly political reasons, I have been avoiding American products as much as I can. I just got to do the best that I can to support Canada right now.
Many Canadians also continue to avoid U.S. travel. The number of times Canadians visited the U.S. in June compared to last year declined by 22% for air travel and by 33% for land travel.
People are still traveling. We're just seeing less people traveling to the U.S. and more people traveling to places like Europe.
Part of the reasons why boycotts can be sustained is media attention.
This marketing professor says the boycott largely lives on because Trump is constantly in the news.
Canada is a very tough country to deal with.
It's got some staying power. When Trump calls us the 51st state as a deliberate insult, it is amplified on social media. And so he's actually keeping it top of mind. He's keeping the boycott going.
The question now, just how long will the U.S. boycott last? The answer may be up to Trump. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
And weather specialist Helena Mahalik is here now. I know, Helena, lots of people thinking about the weekend with the weather and the smoke, but I also understand you have a pretty significant update on some recent severe weather.
Yes, I do, Ethan. I spoke to the Northern Tornadoes Project today, and they told me that there is 17 confirmed tornadoes in Saskatchewan, and 12 of those is from a 4-day span. I talked to David Stills with the project, and he said that this is quite significant.
This, I think, is the biggest outbreak we've seen in Saskatchewan since we started the project in 2017, though. In fact, Saskatchewan's been kind of quiet since we started the project, and we thought that would be the real hot spot in the country when we started. In 2023, there was just one recorded tornado there. So it feels like this is Saskatchewan kind of reasserting itself and saying, yeah, tornadoes do happen here, and sometimes they're the big ones.
And with these tornadoes, we did see some damage to nature and property, and 10 of those tornadoes were on just one day, June 19th. Let's take a look at where some of those are. There was some near Saskatoon. The area of Blackstrap got an EF1 tornado. There was also some just east of Regina, 2 EF1s, and one was an EF2. And then just near Estevan, we also got some, one of those being an EF2, so quite a significant amount of tornadoes in just one day. And we are continuing to keep our eyes on tornadoes. There is a slight chance even Friday night. In the southeast, we're seeing a chance of showers with the risk of severe thunderstorms. This is especially going to be for areas in and around Moosomin. Some of the risks do include a slight chance of funnel clouds or a landspout tornado, wind gusts up to 80 kilometers an hour, hail the size of nickels, and periods of heavy rainfall. But the rest of the province seems to be in for a mainly clear night. And as we look ahead to Saturday morning, we'll see some more rainfall possible for the north. There will be a slight chance of severe thunderstorms in that area Saturday. And as we look to Sunday, we are going to see some showers in the province, scattered thunderstorms in the northern grain belt, as well as in areas of the south. And into Monday, a system is coming in the southwest for areas around Swift Current and Regina, bringing some more rainfall in that area. We know that rain is definitely needed. Our air quality is quite poor throughout the entire province Friday night. Air quality warnings are in effect for our major cities like Saskatoon and Regina, all the way up into La Ronge, and air quality statements also in effect for the south as well as up north. Now, the good news is that the smoke is going to be clearing probably by Saturday or Sunday. We can see it's getting slowly pushed towards Manitoba. Some of that rainfall is also going to help. Our wind direction Friday and Saturday still isn't ideal, but by Sunday things should be still clearing up. Of course, where those fires are near La Ronge, we're going to continue to see some poor air quality in that area. We're seeing Friday that those winds are being pushed towards the south and up to 30 kilometers an hour wind gusts. But into Saturday, we're seeing, again, very strong winds up to 50 kilometers an hour, but we're starting to see the direction of those winds change, and smoke will start being pushed towards Manitoba. And it's the same thing Sunday, so we will start to see an improvement to the air quality, Ethan. So some smoke, some tornadoes, as usual, a little bit of everything going on in the province.
A little bit of everything, and it certainly didn't feel like summer necessarily on Friday with the cloud cover and the smoke. So, here's hoping things improve as we head into next week.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping for a really nice weekend.
Yeah, same here. Okay, Helena, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, a world record is going to be attempted in Regina this weekend, and it is all for a good cause. It involves Regina's street culture project and some avid disc golfers.
We basically came up with the idea of seeing how many rounds of disc golf we can play in a 12-hour span on our course. So on July 12th, we're basically going to attempt that starting at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It'll be a come and go event. It's free.
It's something that you can do in an hour and a half. It gets you outdoors. It's for a good cause. So the Regina Disc Golf Association is really the host of the event, and we're the charity of choice, Street Culture Project. Zach connected with us, had the idea to set the world record, and was looking at what programs and services were offered in the community, came across Street Culture Project. Our mission is to create safe spaces for youth in Regina, and part of doing that is providing opportunity and access to sport and recreation.
This event is completely free. We're not going to be, there's things that we're doing to raise money through our canteen and taking donations and stuff like that, but it's a completely free event. You do not have to pay anything. So we'll basically have discs available for anybody, so you don't need to bring anything. So hypothetically, I've crunched some numbers, and if we had 4 people on every hole from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. playing an hour and a half pace, we could possibly play 390 rounds of disc golf for the community. That's obviously top, the absolute tippy top. I'm hoping that we could hit 200. That's my goal for this weekend.
How cool would it, I think it's super cool to say that you'd be a part of setting a world record. I've always wanted to set a world record, and I don't have many skills to do that. So
show up by Libel Field at the bathrooms between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and just give it a shot.
And Hermes Birkin handbag has just shattered auction records, selling for a whopping 7 million euros. That's more than $11 million. It's looking a little tired and tattered, perhaps, but what makes this bag special is its pedigree. It is the original Birkin. Hermes custom made the bag 40 years ago for the late singer and actor Jane Birkin. Stay with us. We're back after the break. The Canada Summer Games are being held in St. John's later this summer. The event is an opportunity for creating long-lasting connections, like the one two women from New Brunswick recently found out about when they came to the Canada Summer Games in Saskatchewan 2 decades ago.
Soccer, Canada Games, 2005 in Regina in Saskatchewan. And it's just amazing that it's been 20 years that we finally got together again, and it's just hard to believe that we're here. Canada Games is here. It's just amazing, and our sons played on the same team. It's just overwhelming to meet again after that, after Canada Games in 2005. So
it carries on, I think, for the kids, for leadership, for learning how to, heaven forbid, follow orders. Not orders, but you know what I mean. Listen to the coach. And they were young. They were 17 and 18 years old. And I think it has carried through. Our sons still both play soccer, and their children now play soccer. So it's going through the generations.
Great feel-good story to take us into the weekend, and here's hoping, Helena, we have some nice weather to take us into the weekend too.
We definitely will, Ethan. It's going to be sunny and warm. Let's take a look at conditions for the city of Regina. It's going to be a nice warm weekend, a little bit of a breeze, but beautiful overall to get out. And as we get into next week, though, temperatures feeling a little bit cooler, especially with a chance of rainfall that could last a few days. Definitely going to get that Monday, the next few days, just a slight chance. But temperatures are really going to be dropping down and feeling a bit cooler because of this. We're seeing daytime highs at 20 degrees or even dipping down into the high teens Tuesday. And we're going to see things warm up by Friday, but another slight chance of some rainfall. And we're seeing a slight chance of rain over the weekend in Saskatoon, just a slight chance. And our radar shows it's mostly going to be hitting around Prince Albert. And again, it's going to be a cooler week next week, another chance of rain, and temperatures hovering around 20 degrees. We're going to get back to seasonal by Thursday, and the sun will be out all week, but into next Friday, we might see some more rainfall. And Ethan, you know, our overnight lows could be affected due to some of those colder temperatures, but I'm just hoping for the sun.
Yeah, sun would be nice. Of course, we need the rain as well. Helena, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethan.
And that is it for us this week. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or our YouTube channel, and you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.